Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Isaiah Smith. I am one of the COSTARS marketing managers with the COSTARS Cooperative Purchasing Program. Today, I have with me Eugene Misdale, who is also a COSTARS marketing manager and one of the presenters for today. And I'd like to introduce our newest COSTARS marketing manager, Melissa Corinne, who will be monitoring the chat for any questions that you may have. So because you're joining us today, you likely have questions about the COSTARS program and the sodium chloride contract. The sodium chloride contract is the most used contract by our membership. This is also the contract that generates the most calls from our members. We've also heard as we've attended events in the past year that our members have experienced a significant change in roles over the last 2 years. So we thought it'd be a good idea to create a webinar to help you navigate the sodium chloride contract. So in today's session, we're going to go over an overview of the COSTARS program, take a deep dive into the sodium chloride program, including discussing deadlines, terms and conditions of the program, and the member best practices. We'll also take a look at your member profile's importance and how it can affect your participation in the bulk road salt program. And we'll show you the COSTARS member resource page, which has a variety of different trainings and helpful resources for our members. So now I will turn the presentation over to Gene, who will give you some COSTARS program information. Gene.
All right, thank you, Isaiah. The first question you may have is, what is COSTARS? Well, COSTARS is the Commonwealth's Cooperative Purchasing Program. The program provides registered local public procurement units and suppliers a tool to do business with each other effectively through the contracts that are established by the Department of General Services. The approach leverages the purchasing power of more than 9,500 local entities combined with the state agency purchasing to attain more competitive pricing and choice than an individual purchaser might have on their own. The program also helps to reduce the expense of the public bidding procedures for the members. And lastly, COSTARS provides increased opportunities for hundreds of businesses of all sizes and all locations to compete for millions of dollars of government business. As business professionals, I'm sure data drives decisions in your normal day-to-day operations. These statistics will speak volumes. The COSTARS program was developed in 2004. We recently celebrated our 20th anniversary. So after the first year of the program, there was almost 3,000 entities in the program. So membership has grown. In 2005, 2,998 members. Currently, there is more than 9,500 members. We average maybe one new member each business day. There's also been a lot of supplier growth. Back in 2007, there was 483 suppliers. Today, more than 2,200 suppliers. Now, that is the COSTARS exclusive and COSTARS participating statewide contracts. We'll talk about those contracts a little bit later. And finally, of course, there's also been sales growth. From its inception through fiscal year 2023, our COSTARS sales have grown from $150 million to now over $1.5 billion in sales. So you can see that our members are taking advantage of their benefits and the COSTARS competitive pricing. Eligibility for membership requires that an organization fall within the scope of a local public procurement unit by being a tax-exempt nonprofit organization who receives public funding for the procurement of supplies and services. We often hear the term member being used incorrectly, so I want to point out what we refer to when we use the term member. The member are the purchasers. Suppliers who participate in the COSTARS programs will be referred to as COSTARS authorized suppliers. The members exist of entities such as local municipalities, school district, tax-exempt, nonprofit education or public health institutions, public authorities, whether parking, airport, sewer, or water, tax-exempt, nonprofit fire, rescue, and ambulance companies. Again, any entity that receives public funding for the procurement of supplies and services. The COSTARS program provides procurement benefits for the members, but also is very beneficial to the Commonwealth overall. There's no cost for a local public procurement unit to be a member of the program. Because the suppliers already go through a competitive bidding process with DGS to be awarded a contract, these contracts satisfy the bidding threshold requirements of Chapter 19 of the PA Procurement Code. COSTARS provides members with more flexibility and choice in their procurement process. Members may purchase from the COSTARS exclusive suppliers or piggyback on a statewide COSTARS participating contract. They're also able to base their decision on more criteria than just price when purchasing through the program. They might base their criteria on a preferred brand, a location, or past performance of a specific supplier, and negotiate also value added to the purchase. COSTARS exclusive contracts also allow for product customization. And because the COSTAR members receive public funding for the procurement of supplies and services, the combination of the competitive pricing and negotiation saves taxpayer money. And finally, an added benefit to our Commonwealth is that the COSTARS program provides opportunities for small diverse, small veteran-owned, and local companies compete for this business. Now let me expand on the second benefit listed, the reduction of cost and time of the public bidding process. Many, but not all of our members must follow the state's laws and regulation, one of them being the PA procurement law's procurement thresholds. The law and these thresholds require that for any purchase up to $12,900, these organizations can purchase whatever they need from whoever they like with no additional legwork needed prior to making the purchase. For transactions between $12,900 and $23,800, they must obtain 3 written or telephonic quotes and purchase must be awarded to the lowest bidder. Any transaction over the $23,800, the entities must advertise and follow the formal bidding process. But because the COSTARS contracts and COSTARS participating contracts that meet the requirements of Chapter 19 of the Procurement Code, our members can significantly reduce the time and cost normally associated with the public bidding process by going through the COSTARS program. For those members who are held to the requirements of the PA Procurement Code thresholds, it's estimated that for transactions over the $23,800 threshold, the member will invest approximately $3,600 in public bidding. It could be administrative costs, advertising costs, or attorney fees. So not only does the public bidding process take a substantial amount of time and effort, but our members would rather apply that $3,600 to the hard cost of the project. In addition to saving the money, their decision-making time is lessened because our members can quickly start negotiation and finalize a purchase with a supplier that suits their needs and budget. This is one of the main factors in the member's decision to purchase through the COSTARS contracts. There are options in the COSTARS program. Before making a decision, you can search suppliers who hold COSTARS exclusive contracts and suppliers who hold the COSTARS participating statewide contracts. If you aren't clear of the difference between the two types of contracts, I'm going to highlight the main differences. We'll look at the COSTARS exclusive contracts first. There are 36 COSTARS exclusive multi-vendor contracts that are available for use by COSTAR members. State agencies cannot use these contracts. COSTAR contracts have many choices of suppliers with a lot of variety. We award the COSTARS exclusive contracts to all responsive and responsible bidders. Competitive pricing that suppliers give you is a ceiling price, but you can still negotiate for better pricing. COSTARS exclusive contracts allow for customization. Example of that would be like options for vehicles. Now, looking at the statewide contracts, they are established based on the procurement needs of state agencies, which may or may not coincide with the needs of a COSTAR members. They are much more focused supplier section on statewide contracts. However, approximately 100 statewide contracts are available to COSTAR members to purchase from. Statewide contracts are competitively priced through the formal bidding process. They're not open for customization, the specs and the products and services that are listed in the contract. So suppliers that are awarded state agency contracts can only sell to COSTAR members if they elect to participate in the COSTARS program. By electing in the program under the statewide contract, the supplier agrees to offer the same pricing and terms and conditions to the COSTAR members as they do to the agencies using that contract. Now that we learned a little bit about COSTARS, member benefits, and the difference between the contracts, I'll hand the presentation back to Isaiah to discuss the sodium chloride contracts and the best practices.
Thanks, Gene. So because we get this question a lot as members fill out the sodium chloride agreements, I want to expand on some definitions within the contract. When we're looking at initial tons, these are tons you agree to purchase between August 1st and October 31st. When we're looking at winter tons, these are tons you agree to purchase between November 1st and July 31st. And when we look at total tons, this is the sum of the initial tons and the winter tons from the sodium chloride agreement. The 60% minimum requirement is calculated on the total tonnage from a member salt agreement. Looking at that 60%, if your stockpile doesn't allow you to purchase all of your initial tons that you entered on your salt agreement by October 31st deadline, that's okay. Just make sure that by the end of July, you have ordered enough tonnage to meet that 60% minimum. The road salt program is voluntary, so each member must elect into the program each year. There are specific deadlines members must follow within the program to ensure that they are adhering to the terms and conditions of their participation in the program. So let's navigate through the timeline of activities happening during this road salt contract season. So on approximately January 4th, we send an email out to our members to let them know that the deadline for submitting their salt agreements for the next contract year. This year, we sent out that email on January 3rd. The deadline for submission is March 15th. Between April and July, we have the salt agreement contract out for bid for the next year. In August, the new contract is announced and posted on the newsflash section of the members area homepage. Between August 1st and October 31st, members can purchase their initial tons from the awarded supplier in their county from the new contract. November 1st is a great time to do your yearly member profile checkup. The profile is our only resource to make sure important information is getting to the right contacts, so you don't want to miss the email alert for next year's salt agreement deadline. Between November 1st and July 31st, members can purchase their winter tons from the supplier awarded in their county from the new contract. Between December and February, members should analyze their salt submission quantities from the previous years, noting what their actual usage was to strategize salt needs for the next year. By July 31st, ensure that you have met your 60% minimum order requirement. The reason why you want to do this is for members who have not met that 60% minimum order requirement by July 31st, the suppliers can begin charging salt storage fees for any tonnage over that 60%. So now we'll look at some contract resources. There are 3 resources within the bulk road salt program that you will want to keep in your files each year for 2 reasons. The first is these will ensure that you are audit ready for liquid fuel funds, Also, these items will help you in the budgeting and decision-making process for the next year. The agreement confirmation and the contract are provided through the program. The tracking sheet is something that you should keep as a tool for yourself as well. I will show you an example of a tracking sheet that I created here in a little bit. COSTAR's website has a new look. Each Commonwealth website has a similar template so that it looks uniform across all agencies. This change has happened in the last 2 to 3 months. So 2 of the most common questions that our team receives about the sodium chloride program are, is the new contract available and can you send me the current contract? Salt contracts are always available to our members and I'll show you how to locate them. You'll want to start at www.dgs.pa.gov. Once you get to our main page, underneath the overview section, if you scroll down shortly, will be a COSTARS icon that you can click on. Once you select that COSTARS icon, it'll bring you to this page. And on the left-hand side, you'll click the COSTARS Cooperative Purchasing dropdown. Then you'll click the Member Information button. Once you've clicked that member information button at the top right-hand side of the page will be a members area link that you can click. You do not have to be signed in to search contracts or view the newsflash information. The current contract is always posted in the member resource area of the website. So we'll open the contract to see important information that is included. The first page of the contract defines the contract number, the dates of the contract season, eligibility requirements, order requirements, and record keeping recommendations. Second page is key for you. This defines which supplier was awarded to your county for that contract season and the price per ton for your county. Page 3 is your typical contract overview. It's important to notice that if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about the sodium chloride contract, you can reach directly out to the commodity specialist who oversees this contract. Again, their contact information is listed on this contract overview page. Page 4 is also key for you. Once you have identified the supplier has been awarded in your county, you will find their contact information for ordering on page 4. You may purchase under this contract only from the supplier who has been awarded for your county for that contract season. The first thing you should do prior to ordering is consult the map to identify your supplier. We have had instances of members purchasing from the wrong supplier because they've had the same supplier for the past 5 years and didn't realize their county has been awarded a different supplier. This can cause issues for members. If you purchase your 60% order minimum according to the season's agreement from the wrong supplier, the supplier awarded for your county can charge you storage fees for the entire 60% minimum from the agreement because you have not fulfilled the terms and conditions of that contract. The next few pages are a list recap of which counties each of the awarded suppliers are responsible for. You can also see the pricing per county. The last piece of information, which you haven't seen in the document so far, is the cumulative estimated quantities that the supplier expects to fulfill based on the salt agreements the members submitted by that March 15th deadline. The agreement deadline is in place for a reason. The supplier strategically bid on the different counties using criteria including where their mines and distribution centers are located and what the total quantity they are confident that they can fulfill during the contract season. This last point is the main reason why an awarded supplier may deny any late agreements. They do not want to overreach their delivery comfort level and affect service to members on the original agreement list. It is very important that members meet that March 15th deadline. The remaining pages of the contract are listings by county showing all of the COSTARS members who have completed an agreement for that contract season by the deadline. This listing shows all of the quantities entered on their agreement. Once you've received each season's new contract, I recommend finding your organization on this list if you think you have registered to participate in the contract for that season. If you do not find your organization on this list, contact COSTARS immediately. We will work with you to determine if there is an issue with your agreement registration or to see if the supplier will accept a late agreement for your organization. This list generates directly from the system you use to register for your participation in the new salt contract season. If you are not on the list, there is a high probability you either didn't submit an agreement or didn't properly complete the submission process. If you have a submission confirmation in your files for the season in question, you should find your organization on this list. As you remember from our audit ready funnel, we recommend that you maintain a tracking spreadsheet of information. We have not created a resource like this for our members because the kind of data our members may want to track may not be all the same. Members also like to view data differently. However, for this presentation, I created an example of how I would track my utilization of the SALT contract, what information I may gather from the data, how it could affect my future predictions, and other data you may wish to add to your own tracking sheet. Before we dive into the tracker, I want to let you know that I will include this tracker in the post email webinar that we send out. If you do not currently have a tracking sheet in place, you can use this as your starting point and modify it to fit your needs and visual preferences. So let's look at how this tracker may help us. Each season, I will change the dates throughout the tracking sheet, to change the awarded suppliers if they're different, and the price per ton. I would also modify my agreement's quantities if they have changed from the previous season's contract agreement. Next, I will clear the ordering data from the previous season. The items you see in yellow are all formulas, so this will correct them. They will correct themselves as you manipulate the other cells for the new contract. So now that we have a fresh tracker to start our new contract season with, my water supplier has not changed for this new year, and my price per ton has changed. So let's look at the 21-22 data again, and we'll look and see about uh, how we would use it. So as you can see, I have no order since February, and my tonnage ordered in the 21-22 contract season has totaled 1,000 tons. My 60% minimum requirement is at the top of the section my 60% minimum requirement in the top section was only 720 tons of my 1,200 tons per the assault agreement. So I've met my 60% minimum. No storage fees will be applied to my contract. On the right, I've split my months into initial ordering periods and winter ordering periods to see how I match up to the agreement quantities that I entered. I only ordered half of what I agreed to in the initial fill, but ordered 50 tons more during my winter fill time frame. Especially if I have a number of years to compare, I may see a trend and can really hone in on the sweet spot where I consistently meet that 60% minimum, yet feel comfortable that with the 140% max understanding, I will have enough salt to get me through a rough winter. For the new season's agreement, I decided to rework my agreement quantities. Because I agreed to 500 tons in the initial fill last year, but only ordered 250 tons, I decided to drop my initial fill quantities down to 300. In the last contract, I had agreed to order 700 tons in the winter fill, but actually purchased 750. In case we have more winter events in the next year, I've decided to increase my winter tonnage or my winter tons to 900 for the new year. Because my adjustments, my total remains at 1,200, just like the last year. I feel comfortable with meeting that 60% again with the new contract since I actually met 83.3% of my total agreed tonnage from the last year. So now you can see how helpful this kind of tracking can be in your strategies. During mid-spring each year, participants often receive notices from us that they should check if they've reached their 60% minimum so that they have time to place their orders by that July 31st deadline to avoid storage fees. After that notice is sent, we often receive calls from our members asking if they've met their 60% yet. Because orders are not placed through COSTAR staff, but ordered directly with the suppliers, we do not have any purchasing data for our individual members. We also need to direct the members to reach out to the supplier for this information. By using the tracking sheet like this, you are always dialed into where you stand on meeting that 60% minimum. If the tracking sheet was a real resource that I plan to use throughout the year, I would add the following data to the sheet. I'd save the contract from the newsflash area to my computer and then add the link on this tracker in case I needed to view the contract document while working in the spreadsheet. I'd also add a new tab or section in the main spreadsheet of the ordering contact information for the supplier who's been awarded my contract for that season. By adding those two pieces to the tracker, I would have access to everything salt related right at my fingertips in one location. There is other data that you may want to track as well, such as cost tracking data. You may want to add costs for each individual salt order and keep a running total of those costs. This type of data will help you in your future budgeting by allowing you to project a ballpark percentage increase year over year. It may also help you determine if you want to do a spring/early summer order fill to your stockpile prior to the release of the new contract if you project a potential cost increase per ton on the new contract. In terms of usage data, you may also want to track how much salt you actually lay throughout the initial and winter time frames. What you see on this tracker is only what you have agreed to order and what you are ordering, but how do those numbers track with your actual usage? This may be helpful in tweaking your agreements in the future. So I want to show you the contract search process that a member goes through. This could be valuable. This could be a valuable resource as you strategize plans to bid on a contract. You were able to view other suppliers similar to you and the pricing standard that is popular in your product category. So again, you'll start at that www.pa.gov. That will bring you to the COSTARS main page. If you scroll down shortly under the overview section, you'll click the COSTARS icon. Once you click that COSTARS icon, on the left-hand side, there will be a COSTARS Cooperative Purchasing drop-down that you'll click. And once you click that, you'll select the member information link from that drop-down. Once you've selected that member information link, you'll select the member area link at the top right-hand side of the page. So now that we've talked about preparing ourselves for the quantities, we want to enter our salt agreement for the upcoming season. So let's briefly go over the submission process. I'm sure you have some guests. I'm sure we have some guests who have never been through the process before, so we wanted to cover this as well. The SALT agreements are completed electronically in the member area where you can find the current SALT contract and search contracts. So only between the beginning of January through March 15th will you see this orange bar at the top of the members area. You'll want to click on that link. If you are not already logged into the system, it will take you to the login screen where you'll enter your credentials. I'm going to show you the process over a couple of slides. As you're filling out this form, it is on one page in which you'll scroll down to complete. It's just too much information to present on one slide. So once you're logged in, because you clicked on the SALT submission link, you will automatically be sent to the SALT request page. I think this process is a little bit mistitled. It's not to request salt like a salt order. It's to register for your participation in the contract season and submit your quantity agreement for the new contract season. So at the top, you'll see a recap of your organization, the SALT contract year, and you can see here, I've already submitted the agreement for the 22-23 year. When you register for a new season, the screen will say not submitted. So let's pretend I didn't already submit, and we'll go through the agreement details. If you are filling out a new registration for the contract season, the system will automatically fill in the same data from the previous SALT registration. You'll see what I mean here in a second. My name is the representative of the organization that is filling out the legally binding agreement is already automatically filled out because I submitted the 2021 agreement. Make sure that you correct any outdated information as you move through this agreement. To see the agreement details, you'll need to click on the plus or minus sign to expand or collapse the window. You will then scroll down the page to see the next set of information. We ask for two addresses and contact information. The first is billing details. Who and where should the awarded supplier send the salt order invoices to? Next, what location are they to deliver the salt to, and who is the on-site contact at the delivery address, excuse me. So now we focus on the quantities that you agree to. You first want to define the stockpile capacity. Then you'll want to identify how many tons you will need during the initial ordering window and the winter ordering window. Remember the definitions that we talked about earlier? This page also gives you some helpful notes on the initial time period window dates. In each of these sections on the agreement, you must fill in a quantity of tons, even if the quantity for that time frame is zero. Total tons must equal the initial and winter ton quantities. Once you enter those, the total tons will populate automatically. The system also shows you the quantities you agreed to in the previous contract year. These are not your total salt orders, but what you submitted on the agreement for the previous year. Next, click on the plus sign again to expand the signature details. Check the acknowledgement box, type your name and title as the person submitting the agreement. If you're filling out the document for your boss or roadmaster, you will want to click on the "On the Behalf of" box. At the top of the page where you fill out a name under the "Intending to be legally bound" verbiage, you will use your boss or roadmaster's name. But in the signature details, you will want to fill out your name and title with the "On the Behalf of" box checked. On this slide, you will see three buttons: Save, Send Receipt, Email, and Print Receipt Letter. You will not see these during your submission process. You will select the button called Submit. Because the SALT window wasn't open at the time that I did the presentation, my screenshots are from the administrative side of our system. At the top of the page, you will now see Submitted. You will then scroll down the page to the next set of information. Oh, I'm sorry. So now that we went over that, we'll look into some of the terms and conditions for the sodium chloride contract. In terms of salt agreements, the salt agreements are not an estimate. Members not meeting the 60% minimum order requirements prior to that July 31st deadline may be charged fees for their shortfall by the supplier. Suppliers have agreed to provide up to 140% of the tonnage requirements at the contracted price. The minimum delivery is 22 tons, which equals one truckload. The salt contract or the contract permits the following salt delivery timeframes: 30 days from the order placement during the initial fill period, and 5 to 7 days from the order placement during the winter fill period. Members are able to place orders directly with their awarded supplier. Now we'll look at some road salt best practices. So first, you'll want to maintain current contact information in your member profile. You'll want to submit registration for the new road salt season by March 15th. You want to maintain current and historical road salt tracking data. You want to strategize agreement quantities that meet the minimum/maximum requirements. You want to be aware of all of your stockpile capacity and current fill amount. You'll also want to confirm that you've met that 60% minimum purchase by that July 31st deadline. You'll want to lower expenses by refilling from the current contract by July 31st, and you'll want to contact DGS immediately for any ordering/delivery issues. So just to kind of reiterate some of the things that we've talked about, remember when we looked at the contract and the cumulative estimates listed by awarded supplier by county, I mentioned that these totals by county are one of the criteria suppliers use to decide if they want to bid on that particular county. Their total potential bid award must be of the quantity of salt that they are sure that they can deliver. Suppliers do not want to risk affecting their customer service and delivery success by biting off more than they can chew. They often agree to accept late agreements, but there is no guarantee that they will do so. If a supplier denies a late agreement, DGS cannot intervene on the decision since the late agreement does not follow the member's requirements of participation in that contract. One of the most important factors in our members meeting that March 15 deadline is receiving the email reminder to submit an agreement sent at the beginning of January. So that leads me to my next topic, which is your member profile. A COSTARS member's profile is of the utmost importance to our members and our COSTARS team. Remember, I said earlier that this is the only resource that we have to ensure our members receive important updates like road saw deadlines and announcements. It is the member's responsibility to regularly update their organization's profile to ensure the information is current. We recommend that you do a yearly checkup. The top section called registration details is information about your organization. In this email area, the best practice is to use an email address that is a shared email account monitored by a group of people if you have access to something like that. The reason that this is a best practice is that roles change. This resource account likely will not change, only the people that are responsible for the account. If you do not have access to a resource account like this, just make sure that the person receiving the emails knows who in your organization needs to receive the COSTARS information that's being sent to them. In the section where you can identify your contacts and primary contact, make sure that each of your contacts are listed as associated with your member profile. I'll show you how to update and associate here next. We recommend that your contacts include your roadmaster and anyone who affects your salt administration. So we often receive requests to update members' contact information. It is the member's responsibility to maintain their own member profile. Without valuable contact information, we cannot inform you of important program updates. We recommend that everyone verifies their member information at least once a year. That includes verifying your primary contact's name, phone, and email address are still current, confirming the general email address of your organization is correct, and if you have P.O. boxes as an address in your profile, please change this to the street address of your office. Our system automatically links your organization with the legislative context, and it doesn't work with P.O. boxes. So now we'll look at updating the member profile. Again, you'll want to start at that www.dgs.pa.gov. Once you get to that main page, if you scroll down under the overview section, you'll click the COSTARS icon. Once you click that icon, it'll bring you to this page, and on the left-hand side, you'll click the COSTARS Cooperative Purchasing drop-down, and you'll select the member information link from that drop-down. Once you've selected the member information link, you'll select the member area link at the top right-hand side of the page. This will take you to the portal that's tailored to our COSTARS members' needs. So now you want to log into the COSTARS member area. If you have a username and password, you'll log in using those credentials. If you do not have a username and password yet, you'll want to click on the new user registration. This will take you to the Keystone login site where you'll set up your credentials. We recommend that each contact has their own credentials via the Keystone login. As you have staff turnover, you don't want to be concerned that you are no longer able to access your account and that you don't have your username or password. So once you're logged in, you will arrive at this page. You'll click on the drop-down caret, select member account from the drop-down, and then select update membership details button. If you do not see a member account in the drop-down field, this means your login credentials aren't associated with the member profile. We'll associate your credentials in this section. Under step 1, you would enter your member ID or start typing your organization's name. A pop-up of boxes of choices that fit the criteria of what you typed will appear, and you will click on the appropriate organization. You'll then click on the checkbox in step 3 to verify that you are an authorized contact for the organization, and then submit the association request. You only need to do this process once to associate your credentials with the member ID. If your organization is not a member of COSTARS yet, you will click the new COSTARS membership button to register to become a member. Once you've submitted your registration, and the approval process takes 1 to 2 days. We'll then receive an email providing you with your member ID and letting you know if your organization already holds a member ID. If that is the case, you would then associate yourself as a contact for that member ID provided in that confirmation email. So now we'll look at some COSTARS member resources. COSTARS has many member resources to help you through your participation in the program. To access these resources, again, we'll start at that www.dgs.pa.gov. Once you get to that main page, again, you'll scroll down under the overview section and click that COSTARS icon. Once you click that icon, on the left-hand side, you'll click the COSTARS Cooperative Purchasing dropdown. Once you click that drop-down, you'll select the member information link where you can find the events calendar, newsletter, and general FAQs. The member information link will give members access to the member area where they can search contracts, as we described earlier. Helpful resources like the guide to COSTARS contracts and the member quote kit can also be found under the member information tile. We highly recommend that members visit the COSTARS Training Center. This area offers many step-by-step training modules for individual processes in the program. If you need to update contact information in your member profile and don't know how to do that, there are training modules that'll walk you through step by step. Also in this area is a link to several different recorded webinars like we're doing now on various topics that can affect your procurement strategy. Shortly after the presentation, I'm going to be doing a website demonstration, so we'll go over that here in a little bit. The next thing we always ask is that you follow us on our social media platforms on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And then this last page, or the last slide in our presentation, has the COSTARS contact information. Listed on here is the COSTARS number, which is the 1-866-768-7827 number. And it also has our resource account, which is listed there on the screen. Myself, the marketing managers, and our management tech are on the phones every day, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30, and we are also monitoring the resource account. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, we encourage you to please call that number or contact us via that resource account, and we'll be able to help you moving forward. So that concludes the presentation. I'm going to quickly do a website demonstration for you all so that you can see the COSTARS website and some of the things that we had discussed during the presentation. Bear with me here. Excuse me for any technical difficulties. So again, you'll always want to start at that www.dgs.pa.gov, excuse me. Again, it'll bring you to the COSTARS main page. And as I've said before, under the overview section, you'll want to click this COSTARS icon. Once you click that COSTARS icon on the left-hand side, you'll be able to click this COSTARS Cooperative Purchasing dropdown. And then you'll have options. You can go into the training center, which again has all of the uh, trainings for our members and suppliers and recorded webinars. You can click the supplier information section, which will give any COSTARS authorized suppliers information and how to become a COSTARS authorized supplier. Then we have the COSTARS resource page, which I'll click on here briefly. This COSTARS resource page has our all of our newsletters and our webinars. It'll also give you a little bit more additional information. The main thing that you'll be using as a member is this member information link. The member information tile will bring you to this page that has quite a bit of information that is relevant to our members, including FAQs, how to search contracts, and registering online. Also on the right-hand side here is the current sodium chloride contract, the tracking sheet, and some other resources for our members, including the member brochure and the guide to COSTARS contracts, as well as the member quote kit, which could be valuable resources for our members. The member portal, which you'll click here on the right-hand side under this member area, is highlighted in blue and underlined. This will take you to the COSTARS cooperative purchasing portal. So first, as you can see here, there's this orange bar that says salt request submission is open for the 2025 season. Click here to submit the request. Once you click that, again, it'll prompt you to enter your credentials in, and you'll start that request form or filling out that request. As mentioned before, in the news flash section under the current news, it'll give you the road salt participation guidelines for the next contract season. It has the current sodium chloride contract, the tracking sheet again, and some other information for you. Also listed in this portal is the search contracts function. If you want to search contracts, COSTARS contracts statewide or statewide ITQ contracts, you'll go through this page. I'll quickly go through the search contracts function for COSTARS. Once you click that search contracts or you hover over that tab and you click COSTARS contracts, it'll bring you to this page where you can filter by whatever criteria that you would like to filter by to find suppliers for whatever you're looking to purchase from through our program. So that wraps up the webinar episode 1. Thank you to all of our members that have participated in this webinar. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us on our resource account or our phone line. Myself, my other COSTARS marketing managers, and our management tech are here to help you with whatever questions that you have. Again, we appreciate you joining us for today's session, and please be on the lookout for our next episode in the COSTARS webinar series. I encourage you again to contact us. I appreciate you for joining, and you have a great rest of your day. Thank you.